Welcome to our doTERRA live event. My name is Michael Schluchter. I'm the Market Development Manager for Switzerland and France, and I'm so happy to be here with you. Also really happy to be here with Francesca and Jared. Great to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Thank you, Michael.
Thousands of wellness advocates and essential oil users are now gathered online, participating to our European convention. We want to celebrate this here on the social media with an open discussion on sourcing. First, let me welcome each one of you from many different countries and places to this great Q&A. Feel free to share with us where you are coming from and why you love doTERRA. If you don't know doTERRA yet, stay online and listen carefully. We have two impressive guests. Francesca Perkins, you are part of doTERRA Co-Impact Sourcing team. You are helping doTERRA's partner around the world ensure that our essential oil supply chain are sustainable and ethical. What a wonderful job. Would you mind telling our audience what brought you to doTERRA?
Thank you, Michael. I had the great opportunity before working at doTERRA to work for an NGO called Choice Humanitarian. They work in countries around the world, and doTERRA Healing Hands has worked with them in Nepal and in Guatemala to implement a number of community development projects. And I was so impressed by doTERRA's big heart, by Healing Hands' generosity, and by all the good work that they were eager to do in those sourcing communities, that when the opportunity presented itself to join the team and to work specifically on co-impact sourcing around the world, I was eager and excited to jump on board. And so here I am.
Thank you, Francesca, and welcome here. Next to you, we have Jared Moon. You are working closely with Francesca. You have been working on the doTERRA strategic sourcing team for 6 years. What do you like the most about your job at doTERRA?
So thank you, Michael. One of my favorite things about working for doTERRA is working with our amazing partners on the ground. I've had the benefit and the opportunity to work with our partners literally all over the world, and I've been able to see the impact that they are having and also that we are having as we grow, as we expand, and how that benefits the lives of literally thousands of farmers and farm workers all over the world.
I told you, we have stunning guests today. What a pleasure to have you here, Francesca and Jared. Last week, we gathered a few questions on our social media just for you. I hope you are well prepared. Let me start by introducing you a little bit more before I'll start with the first question from our followers. Francesca and Jared, you are based in Luxembourg and have a total of over 20 years of experience working internationally. You know well the logistics, the sourcing, and all the work behind the finished product. Could you please help Ruby May McIlvore understand the logistics behind essential oil? She asked, I'm interested in the seasonal nature of the product. We see oils and products go out of stock on the operation report. What are the reasons behind this?
So I'll take that question. Thank you for the question, and it's a great question because everyone wants to have the product when they want it, right? It makes perfect sense. And so, unfortunately, some things are out of our control as a company. Seasonality is different. Every year, we're dealing with a natural product, and so we deal with Mother Nature. And unfortunately, that's unpredictable, but it also comes with a benefit because that's what we all want. We want pure and natural products. There's also logistics. We've seen the impact of container ships running aground. We've seen impacts of pandemic and how that impacts supply chains and literally shipping grinds to a halt. So there's a lot of things that happen that are out of our control. Obviously, our goal is to have 100% inventories in stock all of the time, and that's something that we're always working toward. There's a few things that we're doing to try to improve that. We've opened the production facility in Ireland that will help with some of that, especially here in Europe. We've worked with some of our third-party manufacturers to increase volumes and reduce timelines. So there's a long list of things that are happening on an operational side to help reduce those stockouts.
Many thanks for this elaboration. It makes much more sense for me now. Through Facebook, Eleonora Pellegrino asks, some oils don't get sourced from the region they are originally from, like lemon, eucalyptus. Has this more to do with their chemical composition in the specific area, or with the co-impact sourcing projects that can be implemented?
Thank you, Eleonora. Anytime we have the opportunity to source the best and help the most, we definitely take that opportunity. So you can always be rest assured that our oils meet the same standard, so that's not a concern. But in some cases, the plants will grow better in one area or another. Sometimes they'll grow well in two places. If we can source it from an area where we can also do good, we try to do that as well. So if we can provide more jobs, then we're happy to work in those areas. Tea tree, for example, comes from both Australia, where it grows beautifully, and Kenya, where it also grows beautifully. In Australia, it's a native species, and in Kenya, it's not. But in Kenya, we have the opportunity to work with farmers and to provide added benefits through co-impact sourcing and healing hands.
And then in Australia as well, we have the opportunity to help the farmer and his local community, but it's a different approach. Again, we're looking at more people being helped in Kenya versus more people being helped in Australia. And the nice thing about, like Francesca said, a lot of crops grow well in different parts of the world. The other advantage to having sourcing operations in different locations is, again, seasonality, which we talked about in our last question, but also it mitigates some risk, which is important for us. If there were, for example, this year, there's terrible flooding in Australia, and that impacted our production facility, our partner's production facility in his farm for tea tree, for example. Again, we didn't have that issue in Kenya, so we're covered and we're safe to have a bit of a hedge by having multiple sourcing locations.
Thanks for the clarification. This is eye-opening. Francesca, you work closely with suppliers and the Healing Hand Foundation to help oversee the development and implementation of community-driven social impact projects in sourcing regions. We got a question from Leva RRL. What are the conditions for growth?
Thank you for that question. So the conditions vary around the world, as you can imagine. It's not going to be the same in Italy, for example, as it might be in Paraguay, where a farmer and distiller is working in his own home, his own self-made distillation unit. So the conditions vary around the world. I can say that the co-impact sourcing team, of which I'm part, we are working closely with partners and our suppliers around the world to ensure that those conditions are ethical and that the producers are working in not dangerous situations, that they have the proper PPE or personal protection equipment, and that they have their basic needs of safety met. It's a big undertaking to make sure that we can do this around the world on every single supply chain, But it is something that we're committed to and that we're working on to ensure that everyone has safe working conditions.
Thank you. This is great information. Yeva asked further, can I grow for doTERRA in Latvia? Also, Pat Stoppel asked on Instagram, how to become a grower for doTERRA. Could you please share with us some information on this interesting subject?
So thank you for the question. It's a common question that we receive, and it's important that we see your passion for the product, not only in using it, but also wanting to participate, and we're grateful for that. It's much more complicated than the farming aspect, though. It's the extraction or the distillation that's the hurdle and the challenge. Producing a plant is fairly straightforward, but getting the essential oils out of that plant can be complicated, and it can be very expensive, which is why we target and use the partners that we do. So that's, we appreciate, again, your willingness and desire to help us and to produce oils for us, but it's that extraction, it's the distillation, it's that whole process after a plant is grown and harvested that becomes the challenge.
If I could just add to that, doTERRA has certain quality standards, and every oil sample that we receive, even if it's pure and natural, doesn't always meet those quality standards, just based on where it's grown, because two plants grown in two different environments can produce a different oil quality based on the water, based on the nutrients in the soil, based on the weather. Different things create a different chemical composition, which is why we cannot take plants from anywhere around the world. We have very specific requirements. So even if there's a pure and natural product that is distilled well, it doesn't mean that we have a need for it, or B, that it meets our quality requirements. So again, thank you for your passion and for your interest. I don't mean to shoot down any dreams, but the likelihood that we would be accepting of some samples is pretty slim. We have very specific suppliers for a reason. They meet the quality standards that we're looking for on all levels.
And just picking a plant and trying to grow it, again, like Francesca said, we look at specific things. So again, the tea tree that grows in Australia, we're going to use this example again. It's the same tea tree species and type. There's different plant types and species types, not to get too complicated, but the seedlings that are used in Kenya are the same. And that's something that we have to control for. Is someone who just goes out and buys seeds may not have the right type of seed to produce the right quality and type of oil that we need.
This is quite overwhelming to understand. Thank you for treating the planet so well and enabling so many people to be part of our community. Our next question was asked by Lotus. Do we know what laborers are paid for their work in the countries doTERRA source their oils from?
Thank you, Lotus, for that question. We don't know what every laborer makes around the world. Actually, we don't usually share our own salaries, right? So this isn't something that we would know across the board. It is, however, part of doTERRA and Co-Impact Sourcing's goals to ensure that everyone who produces an essential oil for doTERRA is paid a living wage. I don't mean just the minimum legal wage, I mean a living wage. They're very different. Minimum wage does not mean you can live on that. So we want to ensure that if someone is being paid for a crop that they produce, or an oil or a finished product that they produce for doTERRA, that they are being paid fairly based on fair market price. And if they are working for one of our suppliers full-time, that if they have a contract and everything, that they're being paid a living wage.
Thank you. Nanita also asked quite good questions. Are all essential oils linked to a specific project?
So Nanita, that's a great question. The answer is no, not every oil has a co-impact project behind it. It's something that we are working toward, but doTERRA sources over 140 natural ingredients. Some of them are very small quantities based on the formulas that we use and the needs. So no, but the vast majority, especially the largest volume oils, we have targeted specific projects to help the communities, the suppliers, farmers. So yes, there are, in terms of volumes, a large percentage of our volumes are linked to or are working toward a project.
Jared, you have been responsible for sourcing oils from 6 continents. Wait, 6 continents? That's almost a whole planet. When are you planning on sourcing oils from Antarctica? But back to your business. Currently, you oversee your sourcing efforts in Western Europe, India, Nepal, and South Africa. Some of the sourcing regions are not shared with the public. Could you help Jocelyne Clemenceau understand why? She asked, if transparency is highly valued, why are certain sourcing regions kept secret?
Thank you, Michael. One day I do hope to go to Antarctica, and if there is, when we find it, I will be there on the ground sourcing. I will even take my little distillation unit there, and I will produce it for whatever time I can. I look forward to that. But yes, I've been fortunate enough to work on every continent other than Antarctica, and I know just about every single supplier that we work with. Again, to come back to my original question, why I love what I do, and that's why. A lot of those suppliers are very important to us. They produce specifically and only for us in some cases. And so some of the oils their sourcing region isn't shared because we want to, A, protect that competitive advantage of knowing and having that specific product coming from that specific supplier. And B, also, some of those suppliers don't want their information shared. So there's a bit of a business side to that. That doesn't mean that we're hiding something. That doesn't mean that the quality isn't what it should be. It's just a matter of protecting our business interests. The last thing we want is for our competitors to go and work with or try to work with those suppliers. They would have a hard time getting them to switch, but what that can do is create undue pressure on the market. If someone's trying to pull away our suppliers and pull away our partners, that can really, especially for some of these oils where they're small quantities, it really can cause the market for that product to change drastically. And what we want is to maintain, again, a fair living wage for our producers, for all their people in the supply chain, but also maintain a price that's fair and competitive for you as users. When we start having to chase higher and higher prices, it becomes a challenge, and that requires us to increase prices to you. And that's not something that is a benefit for anyone. In the end, what happens when you have a peak or a price spike is there's always followed by a sharp decline. And we've seen that many times throughout the history of our time as a company, but also long before that. Commodity spikes usually end poorly for the farmer, and that's one thing we want to avoid. So that's one important reason why we don't share every sourcing location for every oil or natural ingredient sourced.
Thank you for sharing a little piece of knowledge behind the quality of oils. Let me now share our appreciation for your time and your dedication. As I can see, Francesca and Jared, many messages of gratitude are shared with you. Jocelyn also asked how we will know if it's still the same standard? I suppose you can talk during hours on these subjects. Would you mind sharing with us the most important keys to security and potency of essential oil, and how doTERRA provides the best essential oil?
We can guarantee you that all of our essential oils meet the same high standard of being pure and natural. But how can we guarantee that they all meet the same standard? They go through multiple rounds of tests. Samples come in, they get tested. The batch comes in, it gets tested. And even if we've already purchased a batch and it's been shipped around the world and it arrives into the warehouse and it gets tested and it doesn't meet the standards, either because it's been adulterated or it has some
There's
water,
an issue
or there's an
during
issue.
shipping. It gets damaged during shipping, for example.
It gets rejected. Sometimes they can salvage it by removing water. That's pretty much the only thing they can do. But other than that, it gets rejected.
Yeah, any oil that's, for example, something that comes and it doesn't match the pre-shipment sample,
Yeah.
then there's an issue, especially if it's a synthetic adulterant, then that is completely rejected. Like Francesca said, if it comes with water, which is a natural process when you're separating through distillation or through cold expression, the water is part of that process. So over time, as things settle, the water separates more. But again, every single oil that we buy has to go through all of our testing, and if it doesn't meet our requirements, then unfortunately the supplier has to pick it up from our warehouse and take it back. And that, again, that has happened. It's not a fun conversation to have with the supplier, but usually in the cases where they knowingly adulterate something, they know why we're doing that, and often that's the last time we ever work with that supplier. That's not something that we deal with so much now. We've been very good at narrowing down and picking our partners, but it has come up, and it is something that we've had to deal with, and especially in the early days. So.
Thank you for the great explanation. And also big thank you to everyone who asked questions using our Facebook or Instagram account. If you are not yet following doTERRA Europe on the social media, we are inviting you to like and follow us on Facebook, doTERRA Essential Oils Europe, or to find us on Instagram, doTERRA Europe. You too can use those channels to ask questions or share how you are using doTERRA's essential oils. Actually, Kusi Nuna asked on Instagram, is doTERRA a cruelty-free company?
Thank you for that question. While doTERRA is not certified cruelty-free, no doTERRA product is tested on animals.
We also receive questions about organic products. Actually, Kathy asked on Insta, why are we not using a bio label?
So this is a great question. We are using bio or organic products. We use quite a bit, actually, and we buy a large percentage of our oils are organic. Unfortunately, not in the quantities we need. The world doesn't produce that quantity of organic material, and so to ensure that we have the volumes we need conventional produced products. That doesn't mean that they're bad. That doesn't mean that they're not pure or natural. We do test for pesticide content. That is an important part of our testing parameters and our quality control. But again, the world just doesn't produce the volumes of organic, pure and natural organic essential oils that we need. We also don't distinguish within our lineup those that are organic and those that are not, to eliminate any bias towards an organic product, and someone thinking, oh, because this one is labeled organic, I'm going to buy that and it's going to be better. The decision has always been, we will buy as much organic as possible when it's possible and when it's available. But we're not going to put that label on our product.
Wow, that's a clear explanation. Thanks for clarifying this topic so simply. Could you also give us some information on how we treat the plants? Are we using pesticides?
So that's a great question, Kathy. That's we all are concerned about pesticides. Pesticides are something that are regulated heavily, both in national and international markets. Actually, Francesca and I are married, and we have 2 little boys, and we worry about the pesticide loads in the foods we eat, the clothes we wear. But not all of our products can be produced organically, unfortunately. So we work with our partners to try and limit the impact of pesticides, both on the plant materials, but also the broader environment.
Thanks, Jared. And in addition to that, we also ensure that everything that comes in is tested, not just to meet our quality standards of the chemical composition, but also to ensure that we can see the pesticides that are used, and if they don't meet our standard, if the load is too heavy, or if they're using, you can actually tell which pesticides have been used through the testing. And so if they're using pesticides that are, prohibited, then we reject those lots of essential oil.
Thank you for being part of doTERRA and taking so much care of our products. It's amazing to hear all you do to provide the best products to us. Francesca, you have been working for many years with doTERRA. You are probably one of the best persons to ask Alok Dennis' question. With each bottle, more and more people's lives are changed. But does it also change the living world?
Thank you. I guess part of my question with this question is, when we're referring to the living world, are we referring to nature and the environment, the natural world, or are we referring to people's lives? If we're referring to people's lives, absolutely the answer is yes. We are making a huge difference in their lives. If we're referring to the environment and nature, we are doing our best to ensure that our partners and their growers, that everyone in the supply chain is taking care of the natural world, that their practices, whether it's farming or wild harvesting, follow all national and international regulations to protect the world around them.
This is breathtaking. Thank you so much for sharing this with us. We have regular product users interested in visiting our sourcing location. I can already see myself in front of a field of rose, seeing how petals are harvested and smelling this unique fragrance. I believe you too, listeners, everyone which is participating to this live, can envision this experience. Would you also love to experience the harvesting and distillation of our favorite doTERRA products? Actually, Nina Grunbech and Jean R. Glover came to us and asked, I heard that we are able to arrange our own trip. Can wellness advocates visit sourcing sites?
So it seems like there are maybe 2 questions here, but the first question I want to answer is that there is just one place where wellness advocates can arrange their own trips, and it is in Kenya. There should be a link somewhere here for you to see how you can arrange that trip for yourself, to go to the Mara and to see sourcing taking place there. It has to be arranged through Diamond, I believe, Diamond Rink, but then you can invite anyone. It can be family. You just arrange your own trip. It's a really cool opportunity. I actually haven't been to the Mara, but Jared has. I've been to Kenya, and I've seen a lot of the farming and everything going on in Lunga Lunga and in Mount Kenya area. It's really beautiful and amazing. But this is taking place in the Mara. And Jared, do you want to just talk about that at all?
Yeah, the Mara is an amazing place. For one, that's most people go to the Mara to see the big game, to see go on safari, and it just so happens that we have sourcing partners there that are working with local farmers to produce a number of oils for us there. So again, a diamond leader or above can arrange a trip to go visit this area in the Mara where our partners work.
There's a second part to this question about being able to visit sourcing locations in general, and I just want to quickly address that. The best way to go and visit anywhere other than the Mara would be through trips that are organized through Europe or through your market. Our partners could easily be overwhelmed by visitors. There's so many wonderful wellness advocates, and you're also curious, and it's wonderful. But unfortunately, our partners just don't have the time to arrange trips individually or to arrange tours and to answer everyone's questions. So the best way to visit anywhere else is through those organized trips. So contact your market if you'd like to go see somewhere. Talk to them. They can help you.
This was brilliant. In the name of each participant, I want to thank you, Francesca and Jared, for your time and sharing so many details on sourcing at doTERRA. This last hour brought me a great understanding how doTERRA is changing the world, one drop, one person, one community at a time. Thank you for your time with us.